Hello and welcome to the sewing studio. Today I'm going to show you how to make this quilt top behind me, which has been made using Tula Pink Daydreamer range. Now a few weeks ago I was given a pack of fat quarters, and over the coming weeks I'll be making different projects using the same pack of fat quarters to show you just what you can get from a whole pack. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the tutorials that we're going to do. So first of all, I looked at this fabric and I thought it is so gorgeous, I don't want to cut it up too much. So the quilt behind me measures approximately 60 inches square, and I just cut out some 6.5 inch squares because I think the fabric is just so gorgeous. I wanted to keep as much of the fabric as possible. And then the next thing I did was I just put a 2-inch strip of white, and I just started to put this around the edge of each square. So I'm going to show you how we sash like that. So the first thing you need is your 6.5 inch square, and then you need a long strip of, I've used white on white, which is a Makower range, and I've just cut these into 2-inch strips. So the first thing I did was I sewed a 2-inch strip to the left hand side of all of my blocks. And now I'm going to join my blocks together and I'm going to show you how you put the sash in across the middle. But before I go over to the sewing machine, what I would say is if you like what we do, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. So I'm just going to join these together. So you can see I've got my 2-inch strip on the left hand side. So on the quilt behind me, I've sewn 8 of them across, but for the purposes of today, I'm just going to show you with some smaller pieces. So with this, the pressing is important because we're using a white fabric. So I'm going to set my seam, so that's press along where I've just sewn, and then I'm going to press my fabric towards the darker fabric. So I'm going to press my blocks so that the white is going towards the dark fabric. So the dark fabric isn't going to show through on our white strips. Now when we've done that with all of them, so you can make this as big as you want or as small as you want. You can also use different size blocks and different size sashing if you want to, but this one is made, as I say, with 6.5 inch blocks and 2-inch sashing, but it's up to you. So what you do is, and I've had people say to me, how do you make sure that when you put your strip here that these line up and that you haven't got it slightly askew? So the trick with this is to always start in the centre. So if you've got a big long one, which is 8 of these or even bigger, the trick is to start at the centre, because if you start at one end, these are never going to line up by the time you get to the other end. So the thing to do is to pin your white sashing on first of all. So I'm going to pin that, and then I'm going to just join that on the machine with a 1/4 inch seam, and then I will show you how to do it. And the other thing is I'm pinning so that I'm folding that seam back so that doesn't get caught. Sometimes your seams get caught as you're machining your sashing on. So I'm just popping a pin in the direction of where my folds are on the back. So I'm going back to the machine now and I'm just going to sew that on. And then I'm going to give this a press. And again, I'm pressing it away from the white fabric down towards the coloured fabric. And now we're going to join this one to it. And we want to make sure that we line these lines with these lines here. So I'm going to lay that down. And I'm going to turn this one over. Now, if this was a long piece, as I said, we'd start in the middle. So let me see if I can put it under this camera so you can see it better. So I'm lining it up where I think it's going to go. And then as I fold this back, you can see here that it doesn't quite line up. So I'm just going to move it across so you can see that this piece is now lining up. So my seams here is lining up. Pop a pin in. And then go to the next side and do the same. And if it was a long one, I'd then go back to this side, then I'd go back to this side, and I'd work my way out. So I'll just show you that again. I'm lining it up where I think it goes. I'm just going to wiggle it over a little bit so you can see here. Probably would have been better if I'd done a contrasting fabric, but you can see here how those lines are coming down straight. So then I'm going to pop a pin in. I'll just double check that that's right. And then just pop a pin in the middle of the squares to hold it. And you would do that, work your way along, and then you would machine these together so that you've got these nice straight lines going down here and they all line up. So we're just going to go over to the quilt now behind me, and I'm just going to talk you through how I'm going to finish that. So this one has got 8 blocks going across and 8 blocks going down, and this is the perfect size to sit on a double bed just underneath where your pillows are. So the next thing I'm going to make in this range is a pair of pillow shams to go with it. But coming back to this quilt now, you can see that I've just got this white sashing going in between all the blocks, and I've just finished it off with 2 inches all the way around the outside. But if you wanted to, you could put a bigger border round if you wanted in white, or you could put a different colour fillet and then another border. So it's up to you how you finish it off. But I just think when you've got such beautiful, vibrant colours, it seems a shame to cut them all up into smaller pieces. So thinking about how I'm going to quilt this one, I'm probably going to do cross hatching through my big squares like that and like that. And I think I'm going to use up all my tiny little bits, and I'm going to do a multicoloured scrappy binding to go round it. So as always, have a go at this, make it your own, think about the different sizes you could do. This would be perfect for a child's quilt or even a baby's playmat. So it's ideal for a beginner as well. So have fun, and I look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.